It's really with my great pleasure to introduce our final speaker. It's a nice bookends that we had a former chair of the Campaign Finance Board to speak in this morning in Fritz Schwartz, and this afternoon it's my pleasure to introduce our current chair, Rose Gill Hearn. She was appointed to be the chair of the Campaign Finance Board in 2013, and her term expires in 2018. Before that, she was the commissioner of the New York City Department of Investigation from 2002 until 2013, which made her the longest tenured commissioner in DOI history. Now, if that's not enough to know that she is a great advocate of good government ethics and reform, she also took the opportunity to create the Center for the Advancement of Public Integrity at Columbia Law School and serves as its advisory board. Before Chair Gill Hearn speaks, I just want to take, again, the opportunity to thank the people who made this conference possible. From my staff, Matt Sollers, who was instrumental in pulling it together, and Eric Friedman, and all of their staffs. And from the Brennan Center, Larry Norden, Jeffrey Newton, and all the people at Brennan who made it possible. And again, of course, Mike Petra from the Committee for Economic Development. I hope you had a really good day, and here's Rose Gill Hearn.
Thank you so much as we formally close the proceedings, and thank you, Amy, to you and your staff for this fantastic program. So I just want to extend a special thanks to Ann Ravel, our keynote speaker, for traveling here to be with us today, and to Fritz Schwartz, one of my predecessors as chair of the Campaign Finance Board, for his opening remarks this morning, and to all of the panelists who gave us a lot of food for thought about how to reclaim our democracy. I would also like to thank the Brennan Center and NYU Law for being such gracious hosts, and everyone at the Committee for Economic Development and the Campaign Finance Board who put together this very timely and substantive program. And I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my fellow board member, Art Chang, who is always a driving force. Let me briefly sum up some of the main themes discussed throughout the day. We live in a time where the flood of money in politics seems to be rising unchecked. We're seeing this dynamic at every level of elected office, from presidential campaigns to super PACs, now active in state and local races. Outside spending in the 2012 presidential election was estimated to be at least $6 billion. Last week's disclosure filings make it clear that the 2016 election will be significantly more expensive. It is no wonder that Americans believe money plays too big a role in politics. The vast majority of Americans from across the political spectrum think money has too much influence on campaigns and ultimately on elected office holders. Many Americans feel their elected representatives are more responsive to their funders than to voters. This is why Americans believe the campaign finance system in this country requires fundamental reform or a complete rebuilding from the ground up. Which leads us to the second subject addressed here today, namely that voter participation is declining throughout the country. For example, following the November 2014 New York State elections, the Gotham Gazette reported 40 years of free fall in New York voter turnout, and the New York Times called New York State's 29% voter turnout shameful. While various reasons have been proffered for declining turnout today, our conversation suggests that the diverging trends of increased political spending and reduced voting are not entirely coincidental. We have grappled today with suggestions for empowering ordinary voters who don't have big bank accounts. New York City, through its campaign finance program, does this in several ways. For example, we are shifting the power of the purse to small donors through New York City's Matching Funds program, making politicians accountable to ordinary voters. We also conduct vigorous audits to ensure accountability for matching funds. We facilitate small donations by smartphone and text. We require disclosure of contributions and spending from political campaigns and from independent spenders who seek to influence city elections. We then publish that information in searchable databases on our newly redesigned website, enabling voters to see who is spending money to support or oppose candidates and ballot proposals. Our New York City Votes campaign assists voters with registration and provides a wealth of information from poll site locations to candidate profiles, and we sponsor candidate debates. But this is certainly a work in progress and always will be. However, we believe that by strengthening the ties between voters and the officials who represent them, we can strengthen civic engagement and help voters feel more invested in the political process. So now, as Amy mentioned, it is time for a mixer, and we can all continue this discussion. Far be it from me to stand in the way of everybody having a drink. So thanks to all for your participation today, and let's all keep working for a better democracy. Have a good evening.